A little bit longer than 1 year ago, I shot large format for the very first time together with my friend Heiner, and ever since the first shot I was instantly addicted and I was constantly craving another dose of 4x5. And after a lot of back and forth and arguing with myself if I should really invest in the system, and also after doing a lot of research, I finally pulled the trigger on this Chamonix N2 in a set with a lot of equipment and a lot of lenses, all ready to go out and shoot and finally start my own journey on 4x5 photography. Well, if there wasn't this tiny little incident that happened, that my camera actually fell on the ground and broke before I could even use it for the first time, leaving me with a completely new and unfamiliar camera system that I was incapable of using and even incapable of really judging how big the damage in fact was. And with these words, hello and welcome to another video here on my channel where I share my journey in film photography with you, this time about my new broken 4x5 camera, my first kind of solo steps in large format, and also all the mistakes I made along the way. I'm 100% sure I messed up loading the film at least like half of them. Well, let's start with what actually happened to my camera. I already got this camera in late summer, early autumn, right before I was leaving for a 2-week vacation. And because I have a very cute but also very annoying cat called Momo, my neighbor volunteered to take care of the cat and the plants while I was gone. And this is actually where the tragic incident happened, because my neighbor kind of tripped and stumbled upon one of the legs of a tripod the Chamonix was sitting on, which caused the camera to kind of fall and break into components, which means that it got damaged when I wasn't even present. And I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty sad and pretty devastated when I got back from the trip and kind of heard the news. But to be honest, I was even a little bit more sorry for her than for the camera and myself, because she felt so bad and so guilty, even though it's just, you know, an accident that can happen. At first glance, I couldn't really tell how big the damage of the camera was, because I'm simply no expert in 4x5 photography. I'm, just starting out. But with the help of a friend, we actually disassembled the whole camera and inspected everything carefully, adjusted a couple of things, and then put it back together, which in the end seemed like most of the damages were purely cosmetic, meaning like scratches and dents on the wood and on the carbon fiber parts of the camera. But since also the whole film back fell out and the glasses fell out, there was also a little bit of damage on the back part of the camera, which I simply couldn't judge at this point if it would have any effect on taking photos as well. Luckily, the insurance company covered a little bit of the damage, which was still not enough to kind of balance out the loss of resale value. But honestly, more than the kind of financial damage, I think this kind of damaged camera made something with my relationship, like my emotional relationship with the camera, which is very hard to describe. But in a way, suddenly all my kind of confidence and all my verve to go out and shoot this camera was gone. And I'm not 100% sure what happened there, because during my holidays, I couldn't wait to go back and finally shoot this camera. But I think it was because I was so scared that there would be something else broken that I just couldn't, see with my amateur knowledge, that I would only find out after shooting this camera, which kind of made the idea of going out with this camera so hard to think of, which resulted in the camera standing in the corner and collecting dust for I think 3 months, which I just, couldn't bear anymore. So I decided to go where everything started and visit my friend Heiner in Rostock to shoot some 4x5 together. So in November 2020, I made the trip to the Baltic Sea, brought all my 4x5 equipment, and also met my friend Heiner in his really cool studio, where we inspected the camera briefly one more time and where I had the hope to finally lose the fear of shooting with it. And as it always is, I also made some rookie mistakes along the way, which I will share with you as we go, so you hopefully don't have to make the same mistakes that I did. Since the Snow King color film I acquired some time ago was too precious to waste on my amateur beginner shots, I also bought a pack of Fomapan 100 with 50 sheets and a lot of possibilities to study on. And we started off with loading our film holders, which by the way turns out to be more of an adventure when it's cold and when you've never done it before.
Quasi, wenn ich an der linken Seite rausziehe, unten rechts, ne?
Genau.
Das Ding steht auch schief, das muss ich noch mal eben gerade rücken.
Ich bin nicht aufgeregt.
Kann sein, dass die... Achso, der Film ist nochmal wahrscheinlich in der Papiertüte oder so.
nicht, aber ich kann dir nicht sagen, was.
Das ist was im Busch, ne?
Ja.
Also am Ende wird alles gut.
Okay, das brauchte ich jetzt zum Hören. Das ist gut. Okay, ich glaube, der erste ist drin. Okay, so I loaded my first couple of sheets of film and I have no idea if this worked out. It kind of felt so wrong, so I will not be surprised if something, fails.
Since we started out rather late, the light was running out pretty quickly and we only had like 1 or 1.5 hours to blast through a couple of sheets before it got dark. And I actually found my first shot rather quickly with these toy cars on top of a wooden frame. But apart from being really nervous and double checking everything and feeling really insecure, I also found the most uncomfortable shooting position for the composition I had in mind.
So what are you shooting right now?
Try to shoot the toy cars that are up here. I think I have to open the lens first, right? Okay, I can see something. That's good. See if I can see anything. Okay, I can see the cars. Yeah, but I think I will shoot it in the landscape indeed.
Need a loop maybe?
Oh yeah, thank you. Scheiß unbequeme Position hier, halt
Das glaube ich dir.
But maybe F22? I mean, we have time. It doesn't really matter, right? It's not
Right.
moving object.
It's not like it's getting dark.
No stress here. 22. 4 seconds.
Yeah.
So 4 seconds it is, I guess.
Right.
Guys, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm so scared.
Nice one.
I think the shot turned out quite alright and I'm pretty happy with it. But here you can also see the first mistake I made, because the film wasn't loaded properly but it was slightly crooked, resulting in this kind of big shadow on the bottom of the frame. And here I'm pretty happy that I decided to shoot this image in horizontal orientation, because the shadow kind of blends in with the dark bushes on the bottom of the frame, compared to if I shot it in vertical orientation, where the shadow would have been left or right of the frame, which simply wouldn't work. So I'm kind of pretty happy that this accident turned out to kind of blend in pretty nicely. For Heiner's first shot, he decided to take a photo of the trailer, which, by the way, we weren't sure if there were people living in there or not. But his shot, of course, took like maybe 1/3 of the time to set up in comparison to mine. And I think this is also always very educational to shoot together with people who have more experience in a craft, because I found it very kind of inspirational to see a master at his work being confident and being kind of precise with every move he makes.
Da jemand drin schläft.
Ich habe auch erstmal von weitem Caravan Salami gelesen.
Ach, sehr gut.
Was für eine Blende?
5, 6.
That's definitely way faster and more confident as well.
Ja.
Ob ich hier das Weitwinkel nutze, das könnte nicht auch geil sein. Okay, so I also got a very dusty, damn it, 90 millimeter. Yeah, in the bundle that I got, and I have no idea how it performs. I just know that a couple of the shutter speeds are sticky. Aber irgendwas?
Ganz sicher, dass du es?
As I am setting up for my second shot, I actually intended to use my 90mm Super Angulon wide-angle lens, but as you can see, it didn't quite work out. Even though I was only using it a couple of seconds before and everything worked fine, suddenly I wasn't able to cock the shutter anymore. I assumed that maybe something got stuck inside of the lens, and I tried, heating it up, because I thought maybe it's just like some old oil kind of keeping everything together, but up until this day I still couldn't get this lens to work. So if you have any idea, any tips what this could be, if that's something I can fix myself maybe, or if that's something that I will have to send to a professional, I would be very glad for every sort of idea, for every help. So please let me know in the comments down below if you have any idea what could have happened to this lens. In the end, not quite voluntarily, I had to use my 150mm lens again and try to find a composition with this trash pile with the big white sink in the middle.
Ein Foto von der Spüle?
Ja, genau.
Okay.
Ja, 2 Sekunden. Mach ich mal F16.
And of course, yet again, I had to find a shooting position that was incredibly uncomfortable. But this time, even though I still had to do like the soothing self-talk, I think the shot went a lot faster and also a little bit smoother.
This one. Okay, nochmal testen. 29, 22, gut. Gutes Kfz das Ding hier. Sorry guys, when I need to focus and then I will have to just talk German, so you will have to deal with that. 2 seconds, I guess.
Deutsch.
Good.
So that was rather fast.
Do you mean fast 2 seconds or?
No, it's like you handled that professionally.
Welcome to, wie auch immer man das nennt, Trailer Park of Germany.
Yeah, Rostock.
Trailer Park of Rostock.
Since I found this trash corner to be rather interesting in general, I decided to take another shot here, this time of the shopping cart filled with more trash. And since this was already my 3rd shot of the day, I slowly started to feel a little bit more comfortable and a little bit more confident until...
Oh, I didn't focus. Damn. Oh.
But luckily I realized it just in time.
I literally didn't focus, I didn't concentrate either. Yes, that's the one. But I think it wouldn't be that bad either because it was almost in focus anyway. But I don't want to risk it.
Done already?
I'm pretty happy with the shot actually, because I think that the texture of the metallic surfaces works very well on black and white film, and I'm also very positively surprised by Fomapan 100, which priorly I only had experience in 35mm and 120, which I feel doesn't have the best kind of public image when it comes to large format film. But in my own personal opinion, I think it's a very good beginner film. The tones are really beautiful and the grain is very pleasant to look at. And this here was supposed to be my last shot from outside, old kind of plain pieces that were transformed into a storage unit. But I consciously said it was supposed to be my last shot because in fact I didn't take a shot. And the reason for that actually lies here.
Das sind beide Seiten jetzt voll, ne?
No, I thought I had loaded in all 6 sheets, but in fact when I loaded in the very first holder, I took it out of the bag to check if I had everything loaded correctly and simply forgot to load the other side as well. Which means that I had 5 sheets loaded in instead of 6, leaving me with 1 blank spot, which feels a little bit like Russian roulette. But this in the end was the frame that got caught, which, you know, didn't have any film in, which is very unfortunate because I was actually looking forward to this one the most. But it is how it is, and at least this is a good reason to come back and reshoot it one day. In the end, Heiner didn't take any more shots outside that day because he was feeling a little bit sick, but also because there was simply nothing that really inspired him, which actually was also a really good lesson for me to observe, because it kind of taught me that you should know your limits first off, and second off, I think you shouldn't simply shoot for the sake of shooting if there's nothing that truly works for you. And at this point we were almost out of light, which is why we decided to go back in, warm up with some tea and shoot the remaining sheets with a flash in Heiner's studio. Back in the studio we put up this white backdrop, and when I saw the big mirror in the background, I instantly knew that I wanted to use it in some sort as well. So I decided to make like a double portrait, so to speak, where I had Heiner standing in front of the backdrop, and I positioned myself in such a position that I would be visible in the mirror in the background. So having like a portrait but also a self-portrait at the same time. And in the end I took 2 sheets of the same scene just to make sure I have it, but in the end they looked pretty much identical, which is why I will only show you the slightly better one. I'm pretty happy with how this turned out, because the image almost looks like it's split in two, where we have the portrait itself on the left side and the making of the portrait on the right side, so to speak, which is a pretty cool idea that I would like to explore more of in the future. And Heiner also took 2 portraits of me, and while setting up he accidentally tested his film holder for light tightness, because the flash went off while being right next to the film holder. But his reaction to this incident made me laugh so hard that he actually grabbed one photo of me laughing and one after calming down. But luckily the shots turned out alright, but if you zoom in you can see this kind of fuzzy structure which is not visible on all of the other sheets he's taken on the same batch of film, which means that it's most likely from the flash. And I'm still not super comfortable with being photographed, but I always really like the images that Heiner takes of me. So once again, thanks for the portraits and thanks for the very fun day together. Shooting together with Heiner definitely helped me to overcome my fear of using my 4x5 camera, but it didn't feel like I did this journey on my own, which is why I decided to grab a couple of more sheets while being at the Baltic Sea on my own without any help, which you will see here. Even though my first solo experience on 4x5 wasn't really solo, because I had Heiner with me as a backup teacher once again, it still felt very different to shoot with my own camera and not with somebody else's. Also, I was very happy to find out that the damage on my camera was not as severe as I thought and mostly cosmetic. And even though I forgot to load one sheet of film in, and even though I got one crooked image, I would still consider this outing a success. Also, visiting Heiner and seeing his black and white photography, and also browsing through his photo book collection, which also contains mostly artists who shoot in black and white, really inspired me to focus more on black and white photography. In fact, it inspired me to commit to black and white photography, so I will do a self-imposed challenge of only shooting black and white for 6 months, starting on the 1st of January 2023. The only exceptions to this will be commercial shoots that kind of force and require me to shoot color as well, and insignificant social media posts, as for example an Instagram story, which for me is fine to quickly snap on my phone in color and not convert to black and white. But apart from that, everything will be black and white only. And here on this channel you will actually continue to see videos with color images in them as well, because I am currently working through the backlog of my videos from 2022, where I was still, you know, able to shoot color, but everything new will be black and white only. And of course, I will also make a video about this journey, about my experience. So if you are interested in this, you should definitely stick around, maybe subscribe, and also please wish me luck, because this will be really, really hard for me. And that being said, this is actually everything for today. So thanks so much for watching, and I would say see you in the next one.